The chairman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. President Bush today gave a speech, and he talked about the terrorist threat, and he talked about the attempts on the United States that have taken place since 9/11. And he talked a little bit about the attempted attack last week at Fort Dix. And yet I don't believe any of the media is paying any attention to that. It seems like every time the president talks about the threat, it just never makes the television networks. That's very troubling to me, because after 9/11, the president said we're in a world war against terrorism, and it may go on for a long, long time. It may go on for more than my tenure in office. It may go on for decades. And when you're fighting a war against terrorism like that, you have to be resolute of purpose. There's no question that the war that's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan has been very trying on the American people. But this is a war against terrorism, and we must be resolute of purpose. This week, on the Internet, Al-Qaeda put out a new message to possible recruits for them around the world. I'd like to read to you what was on the Internet. It says, Al-Qaeda has a new opening graphic for its propaganda tapes. The U.S. Capitol, that's this place right here, under attack. Here's a quote: "The Islamic State of Iraq marched toward Washington," end quote, reads the headline in English superimposed over a digitally created scene of the U.S. Capitol under attack in the introductory sequence of one tape released on the Internet this week. Another from Al-Qaeda's Al-Sahib production arm announces Holocaust of the Americans in the land of Khorasan, and shows an image of the U.S. Capitol to introduce a short clip of Al-Qaeda fighters. This is a disturbing trend, says Laura Mansfield, an Arabic expert who monitors jihadi videos on the Internet. Recall that in January 2006, Osama bin Laden said that plans for attacks in the U.S. were in progress. Mansfield told the blotter on abcnews.com, quote, "It may be that this new imagery is designed to motivate terrorist activity in the U.S., but it is certainly intended as a recruiting tool, and perhaps intended to reassure Al-Qaeda's jihadi followers that they haven't forgotten their goal of an Al-Qaeda attack on Washington, D.C., this city." I don't tout television shows very often, but occasionally I urge my colleagues to watch something that I think is important. And I just say to my colleague, I understand that tonight on the O'Reilly show on Fox Network, he's going to talk about a poll that was taken among Muslims throughout the United States. There are approximately 6 million Muslims in the United States, and I believe that 99% of them, 95% of them are very patriotic Americans. But in this poll, they found that the Muslims between the ages of 18 and 29, approximately around 20% of them, are sympathetic to the terrorists who kill themselves, blow themselves up in an attack on American targets. This is a very disturbing poll that was taken. This is a very trying time for Americans and for this country. And I urge all my colleagues to remember what the President said after 9/11. Remember, this is a world war against terrorism. Remember what I just read here that was on the Internet, that their ultimate goal is to attack Washington, D.C. And remember that there's a growing number of young men in America, Muslims, who are very sympathetic to the terrorists who blow themselves up. And we need to make sure that the American people understand the gravity of this situation. To back down to the terrorists now would be a big mistake. It's very important that we stay our ground in Iraq and throughout the world, and send a message to the terrorists that we will not surrender and we will not be defeated. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.